We are back on Morning Line. Our guest, Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall. We've got some phone calls for him, and we'll get back to the phone lines. Next up is going to be, hang on, I'll put that one on hold. We'll go to Paul. Paul, good morning. Hi, Paul.
Hey, good morning, Nick. Good morning, Sheriff.
Hey, good morning, Paul.
Man, I was listening to y'all talking a while ago, and I was kind of grinning on the phone. Y'all getting very deep on there this morning.
Hey, I was thinking the same thing, but you know, we do.
Well, you know what? George Jones, the great country singer George Jones, had a song one time, Nick. It's called The Cold Hard Truth. And y'all was just speaking a lot of the cold hard truth right there, I'll tell you.
Well, it's cold enough, I can tell you that, Paul. I don't know if it's the truth, but it's cold in here.
All right, then. Well, Sheriff, I ain't had time to, first time you on this year, Happy New Year to you, brother.
Well, Happy New Year to you.
And I was thinking, you were talking about earlier, you were talking about a mental health institution in Chattanooga. I know the one you're talking about, Moccasin Bend.
Yeah, it is.
Lord, when I worked at Silverdale down there for CCA over 25 years ago, I used to take inmates over there. I know that facility you're talking about. It just reminded me of that. But what I wanted to talk to you about, Sheriff, is a couple things. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I seen where you're going to double your staff in the housing pods in the jail. Sheriff, I think that is a wonderful idea that's, quite frankly, should have been done years ago. Sheriff, I commend you for that. That's you thinking of your staff, thinking of their well-being. That's going to get them to, that's going to pay dividends for you, Sheriff. They're going to want to come in to work for you every day. That's going to cut down on overtime. Sheriff, that's a brilliant idea. I thank you for that, because I'm a corrections man, been a corrections man for a long time, and I appreciate you thinking of my fellow correction officers and deputies that are doing that. I appreciate that. And leading into something else, Sheriff, you fixing to get one of my colleagues, good friend of mine works at Trousdale Turner. He's a supervisor right there. He's in his final process of coming to work for you, Sheriff. Yeah. You're getting a good one. I'm telling you, he's from Georgia Corrections. He's in his early 30s, so he's not too young, but he's at that good age and he's got good experience, Sheriff. He'll make you a good man, I'm telling you.
That's great.
And the last thing I want to say to you, Sheriff, is you just said that you may get another term and you may want to do something else. Nick, I always poke him every now and then about running for mayor. Hey, Sheriff, I'll tell you what, I live in Williamson County. If you ever run for mayor, brother, call me. I'll put signs up for you. You ain't even got to pay me nothing. Maybe take me to Prince's Hot Chicken or something. That's good. That's good enough for 500 signs. The last thing I'll say is, you know, you got to have a slogan, Sheriff, and I already got one for you.
All right.
That's great. Well, here's my only thing I'll say about the last thing, Paul. I've had to say this before, but I didn't know that I had to run for mayor to be the sheriff. And as long as I'm allowed to be the sheriff, then that's where I want to be. And there have been times, and you know, that's an important distinction for me. I believe that people should get to decide who's in the job and within the law and the rules, and then we should get to do that. And sometimes the mayor-sheriff relationships around the country, by the way, it's always Truman Jones, there's a good example. He'd have to sue the mayor about every year to get his money. And
that's right. Yeah, former Rutherford County Sheriff.
Right.
Yeah.
And you run into these situations. It's not personal most of the time, but sometimes mayors have a feeling that you're just a department of the government, and you're not. I mean, and what that means is you're independently elected to do your job. You have to go get your funds from the city. But you know, you have to remind them of that sometimes. It's not I mean, I say this all the time. I promise you, it's not just Daron. It's the people who are in these jobs. The sheriff before me was Gail Ray, and she would tell you today that at the time one of her biggest frustrations was dealing with the mayor and the misunderstanding about the roles. And so it's not unusual, but I enjoy what I do, like to stay doing it, would like to be allowed to do it, and that's what I'm trying to do. You know, I want to say something. Paul brought up us trying to double up our staff. Really, Nick, you did a really good story. A good story on a bad situation. We had some officers injured.
Yeah.
It was really tough, and our staff, these are videos we gave, and y'all went through and picked and used what you wanted. But you know, the staff that work inside these institutions are often forgotten because their job is not real public in that sense. But it's become more dangerous. It's become a different environment. I can't explain it all. I mean, it's just part of it. We did move the inmates, the more difficult inmates, out of downtown when we built this, into a building that really you wouldn't prefer, but that's all we had. Our staffing to do that wasn't really what we need, and that was as much my fault as anybody's. We thought we could handle it when we first moved out there with what we had. Come to find out after the next couple of years, we needed more, and we now are employing more in there to secure these units. And hopefully when we come back down here, the design will help us a lot, and the building will be much better. But Paul's right. Our staff deserve a safe place to go to work every day. The inmates deserve a safe place to live, and we're having to fix that. And really, your story was very powerful. I had a lot of my staff.
Did they take note of it? It was just, in case you're wondering, it was video that we obtained from inside the jail of 2 incidents where your corrections officers were attacked, basically. And it was a stunning video and disturbing. And your point, we interviewed you for the story, was that, you know, this is the situation we have and it has to change. Yeah, and I feel responsible for that. There are issues within the move that we had to make adjustments. We did back 2.5, 3 years ago when we emptied this building, and we went where we thought we could make it work. And but within that, there have been, I think there had been nine assaults on our staff, and basically what we call unprovoked. I mean, we're not talking about a use of force where someone was injured. We're talking about literally punching someone or slamming someone in a very dangerous environment. And so I'm really happy. I have to say this, the DA's office has pursued prosecution on each one of these charges. This as the aftermath. I remember years ago when we had DAs in Nashville who would basically say in a courtroom, well, that's just the price of doing business, that's part of your job. Well, that's not true. And just like our staff, if they are acting out on inmates, should be prosecuted and are. We definitely think the inmates who are acting out in that way should be held accountable. So going to improve it, and Paul, I appreciate you bringing that up. The video and the work that you guys did here got the word out, I think, to our staff and the public, and hopefully we got a better understanding of it. Good. All right, let's go next to Linda. Good morning, Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm glad to see Sheriff Hall on here today because I've got a question. I've got a statement, question, and suggestion. Okay. A family member of mine had to get a order of protection against her husband, and this was 2 weeks ago. And we now know that he was served before 9 o'clock, but she did not receive message that he had been served until like 2:30 in the afternoon. And I was just wondering why such the delay in the sheriff's department serving him and letting her know he had been served, because the entire family was on protective lockdown, so to speak, because of his violent rap sheet. And I would just make a suggestion that the person that has taken out the order of protection needs to be informed a whole lot sooner than 5-6 hours later after it happened. So, I'm not fussing and all that. Everything has turned out okay so far. She has a permanent order of protection now. Okay. But that's just on the piece of paper. We know that. But it was a kind of a hairy situation there for several days. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. And by the way, Linda, I completely agree with you, and that's frustrating to hear from where I sit. Let me tell you what the process is supposed to be. And when I leave here, I'm not a mile away. I'll give you my number. You can call me. It's 615-862-8166. If you call, I'll be happy to return the call. We can talk in detail about it. But the way the process works, a lot of people don't understand this, but if I were to go take out an order of protection on Nick right now, when I go over there, if the judge issues the order, what happens in our agency is the order is sent to let's just call it a cleric who works for us, and that person's job is to call me and say, you've taken an order of protection out against me. There is an order of protection out against you by Nick Beres. You are to stay away from here. I'm putting you on notice that you're being served via or notified. You have to talk to him in person, or can you leave a message? Well, that's what. So the phone is immediate. It's not required by law. We do it. We're the only place I know that does this. Just you make the call. You try to reach him. I'm guessing a lot of times no one answers. They're trying to hide. But the point here is that is legal. Okay. That if you tell me on the phone to stay away from Nick Beres and I walk into the space, I'm criminally involved right then. So what we do is we notify you via phone, and then we put the paper in an officer's hands to go track you down. Okay, now at what point do you call the family that's waiting for this protection to come? Right, and the responsibility is for us to notify
the plaintiff in this situation to notify them that we have put them on notice, and also to tell them that we have served them. There's 2 stages of it. I don't think any other place does the phone and service. Most people just go look for them.
Okay.
So what I would tell Linda, and I'd like to know more about, is you know, we should have notified him immediately on the phone and then let you guys know that, hey, he's been notified. That means he has to stay away. The service is a little more complicated. You're hiding, you're at work, and we're trying to track you down. But the phone, in which we get from the family usually, is usually easier to track you down. And it is legal, it is, by definition, notification for me to stay away, and if I violate that, I am criminally involved and must go to jail. So it doesn't have to be physically served like some people think. We do that as a second stage, and I'm worried about maybe what happened was we notified him, I hope, and we should have told him he's been put on notice and we're waiting to serve him. The word serve sometimes throws people off because they think nothing's happening, but we have someone the minute we get the paper trying to track you down on the phone, putting you on notice.
But yeah, as you know, sometimes these guys try to, they remain scarce.
Hide and Linda, I would like for you to call me. Very frustrating. I completely agree with you. You deserve better.
If you find someone and they're right, because look, I've been served before, not for something like that, but I refuse to take it. I put my hands behind my back.
You've been served.
Yeah, and the
law doesn't say you have to receive it in your hands.
I have to touch it. Oh, they just drop it at my feet?
They can tape it on your door.
As long as they know they confronted me, or
right.
You can't. Now, if you just tape it on the door and you don't know I'm home, that doesn't count, right?
We can serve someone else for you, like your employer.
So I can run, but I can't hide. Is what you're saying?
Right,
I think it was one of your deputies that served me.
Yeah, of course it is. We know a lot about you.
And they were very professional and very nice and a little sheepish about it. It was in the upstairs. I was not in any trouble. I was being subpoenaed to testify.
What about the time you got booked and taken out of here?
Well, that was your little prank that is still on Facebook or on. You Google it, and by the time Nick Beres was arrested, you know, wink, wink.
This true story. I had a niece or nephew, 7 or 8 years old, who really wants to get in this line of work. I think in the meteorology or something. So, was at my house over the holidays or something, and said, "Did you know Nick Beres had been arrested?" And I went, "Really? I've seen it. It's on YouTube."
Yeah, I deserved it, but I was not guilty. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more. How long ago is that? More calls right after this.